Going live.
All righty.
On 1 second so I get connected over. I'll do our intro. Get connected, work out all the kinks. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Hold on 1 second. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mend Yourself Well community, where I am here with Reiki Master and intuitive healer, Rosalyn Decepida, and we are going to be chatting tonight. So this is the first day of our 21-day Facebook Live Summit, and we're so excited to bring you powerful stories of inspiration, motivation, tips and strategies to help you mend yourself well. I'm Dr. Jenna, and I'll be your host over the next 21 days. I'm a wellness expert, chiropractor, and life coach for women who are busy and driven and want it all. And today I am chatting with someone who is a dear friend of mine. She is very busy, very driven, and she is making her way in this world and has some really great information to share. Every time I get together with Rosalyn, our little chats turn into like hour-long conversations that are always full of inspiration, and she has a huge heart. So I'm so excited to bring our interview live with you guys today. We're going to be taking all the questions at the end, so please feel free to share in Facebook. Rosalyn, welcome. You are a Reiki Master, intuitive healer, meditation coach, and not to mention what you went to school for many, many years. Is also a registered nurse, artist, wife, and mom. Welcome so much, and thank you so much. I know that was a long introduction, but thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
Yes.
Really excited. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad. So our friendship has just kind of morphed into us knowing that we're on very similar paths and we have a lot of messages to share. So before we jump into the message that we want to share tonight, I want you to just tell us a little bit about who you are personally.
So, well, a lot of that I put on the profile, it's like I realized as I was going down the list with the bio, I was like, wow, I'm really glad that I can only wear one hat at a time. Right. But if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing today, I probably would have just laughed and laughed and laughed. And now I feel like after a lot of different transitions, a lot of different experiences that I've had, that it's brought me to where I am, where I definitely want to be sharing everything that I've learned with others. So, besides all those things that I do, it's definitely finding a purpose is what has really inspired me to be reaching out to other people.
Mm-hmm. So what is your purpose?
So my purpose, I would say, would be to teach people that they are their own miracle. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to find something outside of themselves, it's really more everything that you need is within. And I really help people to tap into that, to that intuition and getting past the fear, especially if you've been through particular trauma that has really held you back in your life, that's something that is definitely workable. It doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah, and you have so much great knowledge because, I mean, you were a nurse and you still are. You're a practicing nurse. You have over 17 years of experience in the medical field. And here you are kind of going into a whole nother field that, like, you get to use your medical background, but now you're like, well, medical doctors aren't teaching this. Your body's designed to heal without medicine, without surgery. Let's get to the root of that. So I really love that you get to have that respect with your clients. You're not just like a woo-woo energy, right. Like you're getting really good.
Yes, I definitely have people who come to me, they're like, how does this even work? I have people who say, well, make me a believer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have eventually found a way to explain from a quantum physics perspective how it works. And so that I feel really comfortable with, because as a nurse, it's like I want to be explaining that it's not just love and light. It's, even though that can be the premise, there is a scientific reason why it works.
So I know that your story needs to be shared tonight, but just really quick, can you talk about how Reiki and energy medicine and how your work as an intuitive healer, how that works? Like like if someone was to come to you, what would you explain to them on how this works to help them heal?
Okay, I'll try to make that as quick as possible. Well, medicine for hundreds of years has been based on the Newtonian model, where, it's like looking at the body like a machine, like you press a lever, press a button, and you're good to go. But our bodies are not cars, and with quantum physics being introduced back in the 1920s, they have been able to discover that what people considered as spirit, I guess you can say, that there really is a function within the body, and that's energy. So if you were to take a microscope and put it in through your hand and take a look at the tissues, the cells, the DNA, and you have the atom, if you were to take that atom and blow it up and put it in front of you, you remember that there's the nucleus, there's the proton, and the electrons all around it. What would you see the most of? And that would actually be 99.99999% empty space.
Oh,
And quantum physicists then tell us that if we were to remove the space in each of our atoms then that comprise our body, all the particulate matter that would be left would fit into a grain of sand.
wow.
So everything that we think as being solid really is not.
Wow.
And so within that space, that empty space, the electrons are moving, they're vibrating at a very, very quick pace, and that's vibration.
Mhm.
Now there is also the concept of quantum entanglement, which means that the energy field or that vibration of one object can interfere and exchange with another. So a very basic example would be if you were to take a wall of pendulum clocks and start them all at at different times. If you left them alone, eventually they would sync up.
Wow.
You can YouTube that. I mean, it's people do that with metronomes, and they will all eventually swing together.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what happens in an energy healing session. So here a client comes, maybe that perhaps not feeling well or not feeling emotionally well. The energy healer then would come in, their cells are vibrating higher. So for myself, I would get myself into a meditative state. Meditation automatically increases your vibration. And so when I act as the conduit for the energy to pass through, my cells are vibrating higher. The client cells then would mimic that.
Mhm.
It would raise. And elevation of the vibration produces healing. So that's probably the most simple way that I can explain it, but that's
That's
how it works.
fascinating. I love hearing your perspective because I mean, I knew that. I already knew that, but I didn't like to relate it to the clock and the pendulum. That's such a perfect example. I really love that, and it's like I can't wait to get on your table.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so now that we've talked about the science, I think what people are really here for today is to hear your story. You have an incredible story of how you hit rock bottom and how you had to mend yourself well, and that led you to what you're doing today. So jump right in, tell us the story. This is yours. Talk as long as you want.
Okay, so back in 2012, I had a bunch of major life transitions that occurred all pretty much at the same time. I initiated a separation and divorce from my husband, who was married to then, and subsequently also left the church that I grew up in. Now, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness my entire life, and for those of you who know, I mean, it's a religious cult, and divorce was not something that you do unless adultery is involved. So I pretty much knew if I was going to make a change, and I made the change for a lot of different reasons. There was a lot of hypocrisy in the church anyway that I saw, and my life wasn't where I wanted it to be. My future was pretty much decided for me because of the religion. And so for the many reasons that I decided to make that change, I knew that I had to leave this organization as well. Now, for those who are familiar with shunning policies of cults, it's a pretty harsh practice. So when they found out that I wasn't going to return, I had all communication cut off. So there was no, like I had hundreds of friends in my family to nothing. And then so it was pretty, it was very, very lonely. Here I was having a loss of identity because now I really didn't know who I was anymore. And, and then with the indoctrination in there, my ex was telling my son that, we're not going to have a mom because she's not going to be around, because the belief was that anyone who's not a witness is going to die in the future. So there was a lot of different things that, mentally and emotionally, it was extremely, extremely difficult. What didn't take long for depression and anxiety to kick in, I started self-harming and started to have suicidal thoughts eventually. And I decided to seek help. And eventually I did feel a little bit better. So fast forward in time, and I moved, and I was living in Arizona. So fast forward in time, and I moved out here to Texas to be with my husband, who I'm married to now, and wanted to just start fresh, start new. I wanted to bring my son here with me. I wanted him out of that environment, and it didn't happen that way. And so when the custody issues started, became a very, very big ordeal. And that's when things kind of took a nosedive again for me. And so the depression really got bad, and then I was actively suicidal. So because of a suicide attempt, I was hospitalized. And so here I am in the hospital feeling a lot of shame and embarrassment, because like, I'm a registered nurse, I should know better. I should have known what I needed to do and just didn't do it. And I was very frustrated because I couldn't get a hold of how I was feeling. So in the hospital, then I ended up seeing a psychiatrist who saw me for 10 minutes, prescribed me a medication that I didn't want to take. And here I was, very bent on telling her my story of why things are so bad. And she says to me, do yourself a favor, forgive and move on. And I remember feeling so angry, and that's why I will never forget those words, because of how angry it made me. But years later, I realized that that was a direct message. That was something that I was eventually going to learn over time. But she was right. So when I got out, then I did outpatient therapy, group therapy, individual counseling, medication after medication. They stopped working after a while. And a psychologist told me, you need to do mindfulness meditation, because the CAT scans show that people get better, their brains get better. And I was like, okay, sign me up. And she gave me a book for therapists, and I started to do the exercises. For whatever reason, she didn't meditate with me. So I went off on my own and started to just try it out. And after a couple weeks of doing a very basic meditation, I actually felt a little bit better. I realized, I was like, okay, maybe there is something to this. So I did my own research, And sure enough, what she was saying was correct. I started to learn the neuroscience behind meditation. And then I started to learn what people were using meditation for. They were using it for success in business. They were using it for mending relationships, for physical healing. And I thought to myself, well, if people can do all that, I'm like, maybe I can address the indoctrination that was still going on in my head. You know, because that was the one thing that even though I went to therapy and it did have its place, they couldn't help me with that. If you had not been through a high mind control situation for all your life, it's really hard to help someone get to, get over that aspect of your life. And so I had to do it on my own. And so within 5 to 6 months of persistent meditation, I was no longer clinically depressed. I didn't have debilitating panic attacks. And as a side bonus, I cured myself of a condition that I had for 9 years. And I know that it's basically women on this community, so I'll just say it. I had abnormal vaginal bleeding for 9 years that doctors could not do anything for. They were just like, I'd go in for my exams and like, I don't see anything, and it was gone and has not returned ever since. And all I did was actually feel better and it disappeared. And so after that 6 months, my husband was like, he saw so many changes in me. He was like, well, I think I want to meditate now. So he started. And then the following year, I was able to manage to get better control of my post-traumatic stress triggers. And then I explored energy healing as a result. I kind of call that a download from the universe because I have no idea exactly why I wanted to do that. So I did, and then ended up having my own phenomenal experience with that when I started to break out with psoriasis from another stressful event. So all of these to me were lessons in not only learning how to manage my emotions and triggers, but also to show me what was possible in unconventional medicine. And so once that happened, once I experienced my own healing as well, not only with meditation, but with Reiki, then I decided to become a Reiki Master. The year after that, I was also trained in a second modality of energy healing, very gifted healer that's premised on unconditional love, have had phenomenal results with that. And it was earlier this year that I ended up advertising it as something that I offer people.
Mm-hmm. Your
So,
passion project.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And thank you so much for just sharing all of those details. And I'm sure that, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this summit is there are people out there who don't know what the answer is for their healing. They don't know. They don't even know if there's a safe place they can talk about their story and what they're struggling with. They're misunderstood. They're unheard. They feel alone. And you're just a testimony of like, you kind of just took the the bull by the horn. You took the reins and you're like, okay, I know that there's something better. And you just, luckily, the answers kept popping in on your path. Like, here's the next thing that you do. And so hopefully this message is showing up for people along their paths too, if they're really struggling with something. And we have some people on the call, on the live call. So if you guys have any questions while I have Rosalyn on the line, feel free to just post your questions. I'm going to ask some questions that I think our audience might be wanting to know. Lynette is saying, thank you for sharing. Kara is saying, hello, my beautiful friends. Hi, Kara. So great to see you.
Hi.
Stephanie McGee is here. Hello, ladies. So I started doing meditation this year, and it too has changed my life. I started like right after New Year's, and it's been amazing. But I want to hear from you, like how do you, like, if someone's never meditated before, what would you say, like, what would you say they should expect? What would be your tips for someone who's never meditated ever before?
Okay. So what I typically do with my clients is I'll have them start with something very short. And I mean, you can find a bunch on YouTube. I did create my own little 10-minute body scan meditation because that's what I started with. I highly recommend guided ones instead of something more open-ended where you still haven't learned how to kind of train your brain yet. So with the body scan meditation, and I'll just use this as an example, you're basically just following the person's voice where they're bringing your awareness to different parts of your body. So like if I told you right now, can you bring your awareness to your foot? You could do that. You could just bring your attention to your foot. And that's kind of what a guided thing does in the beginning, where you are just focusing on different things. So that way the thoughts that you're having that we typically have, like the monkey mind, the monkey chatter that people
The
refer to.
60,000 thoughts per day.
Exactly, the 60,000 thoughts per day.
If anyone's watching, that's like true statistics. The average person has 60,000
yes,
thoughts per day.
exactly. That's something also too that I talk about with my clients when I talk about the stress chemicals from negative thoughts. So when you're starting, I would recommend something as short as that, because in actuality, out of that 10 minutes, it's really on average 2 minutes where you're actually in that space where you're reaching the subconscious.
Wow.
The other 8 minutes kind of goes back and forth between brain waves. And so when you start in the very beginning, what I tell people is that you're pretty much just training your body to sit there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when you go to your first hot yoga class, you know, you're not going to be expected to do all the different positions and everything brilliantly right away. The teacher tells you your goal is to just stay in the room because it's so hot in there. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing where when you start, you're training your body. And in the beginning, your body is going to fight you. Mm-hmm. You're not going to want to sit still. You're going to want to move. Everything's itchy, you know, but take that as a good sign, because that means then that your body is recognizing that you're doing something different. Mm-hmm. And when you do it every day, no matter if it feels like it's a really bad meditation, your body will acquiesce eventually. And then you're going to be still, and then you're going to get into that space. And when you get into that space, that 10 minutes is going to feel like it's done in 1 minute. And that's when you know that that you've gone, that you have done it successfully. Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to do something longer or switch it to something different, same thing. You're going to be training it again because now it's a different meditation. Mm-hmm. But every time when you get used to it, you will eventually know when your brainwave state has changed. Like right now, like if I wanted to sit here and close my eyes, I can get into that space in less than 10 seconds. Wow. So very experienced meditators, if you do it long enough, you will know what I mean when you close your eyes and you can get into that space right away. It's totally worth it, because that means you can access the stillness at any time. It doesn't matter what's around you.
Yeah. So powerful, so powerful. So you do Reiki, and what most people also don't realize is that Reiki does not have to be done in person. So how does Reiki work? Like, how can you do Reiki with someone on the phone?
So just like I had explained with the energy intermingling in person, you also have to, and this is kind of almost stretching your imagination or stretching your brain in this way, because energy has no bounds. The fact that we are made up of mostly energy, that means then that even our thoughts and our feelings are also energetic. So what I like to explain is that our thoughts are electric and our feelings are magnetic. So when I'm focusing, I have that focused concentration on the client and they're in another state, they're in another country. The fact that my energy then is going into that direction to that person, and they are in that state of receiving, the energy still intermingles. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. I still get amazed every time I do it, because I do a fair number of distance sessions. Mm-hmm. And the feedback that I get is it just always affirms for me that it's real. Yeah. You know, I know that it's real anyway, but when they tell me like, oh, my pain's gone, I felt it come up and it released, or I felt energy around my heart and I wanted to cry, or, you know, something, or I felt you working on my most painful area. It's amazing. And my very first energy healing session when I had the psoriasis outbreak was a distance session. Another healer in Dallas did it for me. And within 2 days, the big, huge spot that I had on my elbow was just about gone.
That's amazing.
So
do you do Reiki on yourself now that you're certified, or do you need to receive Reiki from someone else?
I do it on myself every day. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have, you know, I have my energy healer mentors. Okay. And so, you know, when we practice or they teach me something, you know, they'll practice on me too, which I always love. It's always nice too, you know, you never know what to expect sometimes. But I do it on myself every day.
Awesome. Now, you have a colorful poster in the background. I'd love for you to explain to our listeners.
Those are the main chakras. Mm-hmm. So from the bottom, we have like the root chakra. Then above that, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And what really blew me away when I started learning about these, because I was always kind of like, okay, that's, you know, that's nice. I didn't quite know what it stood for, but they each correspond to the neuroendocrine system. So, you know, it's not just thought of as like, you know, just energy, wheels of energy, even though that's what it's literally translated to, like energy wheels, centers where energy is supposed to be spinning, but they correspond to the different glands of the body. So when people talk about, you know, take, for example, I have a lot of stomach issues, you know, right away, I'll automatically think of the solar plexus and different issues, emotional, mental issues that may be associated with that area. And it tends to be pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. So if someone has an issue in a certain area of their body, you can pretty much know what chakra may be blocked, to the side, blown up, contracted. There's different ways of looking at them. So.
And you can feel that when you do energy work?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So is balancing the chakras something that you need energy work for, or can you do it solely on meditation as well?
Both, but you can definitely do it with meditation. There's a lot of meditations out there too that focus on balancing them. There's a guided one that I have followed historically for that same reason. I do plan on also creating one soon. But yes, you can definitely do that with meditation.
Great. And speaking of creating, you've been creating some really amazing things to get your work out to the world. So tell us a little bit about the program that you have available tell us about the program that you've been creating.
Yes, so I just officially released a personalized 6-week anti-anxiety and anti-depression plan. And this was something I ended up creating because just about all my clients who have come to me for meditation coaching, a lot of times they just wanted to reduce anxiety. And even other people who come to me for physical issues, you know, in talking with them and kind of hearing about what they've been through, because one of my common questions to ask is, what happened about a year and a half ago prior to the onset of your physical symptoms? Mm-hmm. And it's surprising the answers that I get, and there always tends to be some sort of major stress life event, trauma that has happened that they just haven't processed through. And so the program that I created, meditation is incorporated into that, but I basically have almost like an a la carte, if you will, of different techniques that I have used over the years. In addition to when I was meditating, different things that I started to do to change my mindset, if you will, or rewire my brain, because it was like meditating was excellent. So what do you do then when you're not meditating? Or what do you do when those physical changes in your brain still haven't taken place? You know, you're now still feeling anxious, having depressive symptoms or something else. So the different techniques that I teach have a lot to do with that, and also accessing your heart center, using your intuition. I was able to do some research on some things that other people use from like the Heart Math Institute, for example. And a lot of it's backed by research, and it works so incredibly well. So I was very happy to put it together, because here, you know, I had to learn all this stuff over years, and to see people get better like in a week, in 2 weeks, it floors me. It's like such a joy. So 6 weeks I know doesn't sound like a long time, but I spend a lot of time with each and every client. So I will meet with them 2 weeks and 4 weeks. I'll check in with them every week. They can text message me anytime situations arise or if they have questions. So it really does, it's been really, really cool to see people get better.
So someone who's thinking about doing that, like, where would that person be emotionally, physically? That, like, who's the perfect person that this course is designed for?
So this is for the one who wants to do the work. So I really stress that. What's that?
It's not going to just magically happen.
That's right. So I get really excited when people come to me and they're like, I am ready to do whatever it takes. Because I'm like, that's exactly the person that I want to work with. Because, you know, when you talk about mending yourself well, it's all things inner work. It really truly is. You know, that's what comes to mind whenever I see that, or whenever I hear you say that. Because if you want to get better, that means you have to take responsibility for how you're thinking and how you're feeling. And yeah, so meditation, absolutely, it's going to work. But guess what? It's going to take several weeks for you to really start to feel those changes. And you will need to continue to do that as part of your everyday. And all the other things that I teach, they're very simple. They don't have to take a really long time, but it's all about developing new habits, because your perception is everything. Your beliefs are everything. And so when you're working on changing those things, you have to put the work in. So my ideal client is the person who is ready to do that.
And you have a special giveaway. We're not going to announce the winner of your giveaway today. We're going to announce it tomorrow. We're going to give everyone a chance to watch this, the recorded version. But you want to give away one free distance Reiki session to grand prize winner. So in 24 hours, tomorrow at 7 p.m., we will announce the winner. But today I have a giveaway, so I need your help. I need you to pick a number for me. Let me tell you what number. So I'm going to give away, as some of you know, I'm a life coach, and I love helping women really catapult in the direction of their dreams. And sometimes what you have to do that is get over your limiting beliefs that hold you back. So you actually get a whole day to work with me. Whoever the winner is that Miss Rosalyn picks today will get a free pass to come join me at my one-day event. So I want you to pick a number, 1 through 23. Those are all the registrants that we've had in the last 72 hours since I created this event. So 1 through 23, who will it be?
13.
Oh my gosh, Miss Emily Mayhew. She is our lucky winner, and that's really great, because I've known her and I've always wanted her to go. So that's so perfect. I promise I honestly picked number 13. So Emily, she'll be really excited to hear that.
You sent it to me energetically.
Yeah, that's like zoo. Well, I think we read each other's mind too. Like when I was listening to you talk, I was like, I know the next word she's gonna say. So fun. And, I wanted to just say one more thing. I know some of you, I don't know if anyone knows here that I make jewelry, and I made Rosalind some bracelets. And one thing that I wanted to talk about is I'm just now learning about the chakra chart, is that those stones, if they're a red color, they help with the root chakra at the bottom. If they're a purple color, they help with the crown at the top. Like the colors of the stone help to heal those chakras by balancing the energy. And I just think that that is just so fascinating. It's like, how more simple can this planet be? Like, God has these amazing things for us to utilize. And we're going, you know, so many of us run to our doctors to find some man-made chemical that doesn't even work. So yes, and we have hands and our hearts to heal. So
that's right.
Well, I love this conversation. I'm sure we could talk all night, but I'm sure everyone on the phone probably has lots of things to do. So we're going to end tonight. Is there anything else that you want to say or share for tonight?
Oh, so just in case anyone is interested in the six-week program,
yes,
because this month I have basically 50% off the total value, and for those in the community, if you are interested, I will take off another $25 for the entire 6 weeks. So if you're interested, then reach out to me on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, so Rosalyn is part of our community, so you can message her. You can comment below that you sent her a PM. Definitely reach out to her if you are struggling with anxiety or depression and you want to finally put that behind you. She's a really amazing package ready for you to start healing, to start mending yourself well. And Rosalyn, we're just so grateful to have you be our first guest. I'm honored, I'm delighted. You're my friend, my sort of colleague. Like we're just on these different parallel paths. I'm a chiropractor, you're a nurse, but we're both just kind of you're making our way in the world. So I love it. Keep up the great work, and thanks again for joining us. You all keep mending yourself well, one day at a time, one step at a time, and we'll be here supporting you. Everyone have a fantastic night.
Good night.